Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with the Platinum's 9-course WrestleFeast. This would take place, let me make sure I'm doing the math correctly. This would take place from January 31st until February 4th. Holy guacamole. It's 9 shows. It's the 9, I would consider big time national level shows all put together, and we try to go in chronological order. And then we tell you which one worked the best and which one worked the least. And this is, of course, by my estimation. What are the standards? There's too many to name, and really it's a gut feel thing. I put a Raw on here that I said was the worst show of the week, even though it had two of the best matches of the week, though neither one of them I recommended as must sees. If I see a match that I believe is a must see for whatever reason, I let you know about that too, which people say they greatly appreciate. So let's jump in. We got Dark Elevation to start, 7 matches. Tony Schiavone, Paul White, and Mark Henry as the commentary team, which didn't really work. They didn't really mesh. I gotta wonder if they are regretting the money that they shelled out for Paul White and Mark Henry. Not that they're terrible at what they do. I just can't imagine they're getting the bang for the buck that they were expecting. Now, both of them, especially Mark Henry, are very vocal online. They're good at getting some kind of news with their takes and that kind of thing. But man, it's a lot of money to pay for just that. And that's pretty much all they've gotten. First match, Lance Archer against Chase Oliver. Chase Oliver making his first appearance, and he gets destroyed. Second match, Brandy Rhodes with Arn Anderson at ringside against Kylan King. This is really painful to watch Rhodes make King tap out when Kylan King is just head and shoulders above her, both literally and figuratively. The very definition of what feels very indulgent. I really hated this. This really drags the show down, my opinion. Kylan King was great, but watching Brandy Rhodes sort of be put over people repeatedly, it's really it's really a blight on AEW. Jay Lethal against Casey Carrington, I believe making his first appearance, and Jay Lethal really does a little back and forth with him for a while, and the part where they go back and forth looks very good. Jay Lethal, of course, good in that ring, and wins with the lethal injection. Anna Jay with the Dark Order against Nikki Victory, another first timer. Anna Jay with the Queen Slayer wins. Fifth match, Dante Martin, Matt Sydal, and Lee Moriarty against the Factory, in this case, Nick Camarotto, Aaron Solo, QT Marshall, with Anthony Ogogo at ringside. And for once, we have something resembling a competitive match that goes back and forth. Sydal sets it up, Dante with the nosedive to get the win. And then Ruby Soho and Thunder Rosa versus Jocelyn Navarro and Megan Myers, who have never teamed before and may be making their first appearance as well. Rosa plants Myers with the Fire Thunder Driver to pick up the victory. And then Mercedes Martinez appears on the stage to play mind games with Rosa. So at least we're having a little interplay here, which was nice to see. And then our 7th match, Pentagon against Serpentico. They really have a nice back and forth, but of course, Pentagon wins. So a show that's a touch more relevant than ones that they've had in the past weeks, but not by much. We go to Raw. Adam Pearce opens the show. Lashley's going to defend the WWE title inside the Elimination Chamber. They're really pushing that button hard, as well they should. We're only a couple of weeks away from that event. And then officially names it. Lesnar comes out. He reiterates the title versus title thing, which I'm convinced Lesnar went on into business for himself with, and is kind of forcing it forward. So they teased that Lesnar might have a match on Raw, which hasn't happened in almost 20 years, by the way. Um, but we'll see if that happens. It doesn't. Nikki Ash against Rhea Ripley. They won't let this thing die. Ripley wins. This and the show's already. You could feel the energy in the room about like Miz against Dominic Mysterio. Distractions. Um, and then because Dom is an idiot, I guess, so he gets hit with a skull crushing finale. He does work heel very well, though. There's just no doubt about that. And yeah, Kevin Owens against Austin Theory. Theory goes over again. Okay. And I always say that they had a lot of chemistry in this match. It's just so awkward. Angelo Dawkins against Dolph Ziggler. Dawkins wins with a double underhook slam. Boy, remember this time where when you would win a world title at some point, they would bring that up and it would seemingly allude to your status in a match. No more. No more. And it was a very quick match to boot. Otis against Riddle. Riddle hits a twisting senton floating bro for the win. Um, Bianca Belair against Carmella. Belair wins. Nothing in this show really is especially bad. It's just not essentially interesting. AJ Styles against Rey Mysterio. These guys really busted it out, and that's what you would hope would happen. That's what definitely happened, even though it was a foregone conclusion match. Styles wins. Really, really good, solid match. So Styles is gonna earns that final spot on the Elimination Chamber. Um, and good for him. This is all about setting up matches for Elimination Chamber. That's exactly what we have. So Styles, Lashley, Riddle, Lesnar, Theory in the one, and then Rollins as well. Ronda Rousey's Raw return. Um, pretty awful. Pretty awful. Oh boy. We go to Tuesday. That means AEW Raw. Did Raw beat? I mean, sorry, AEW Dark, AEW Raw, AEW Dark. Did it beat Dark Elevation? Let's see. First match: Anthony Ogogo against Marcus Cross. Good to see Marcus Cross there, and Anthony Ogogo. And now Ogogo's trying out another finisher, the pop-up haymaker. Interesting, and at least for its debut as a move, Marcus Cross is the right guy to take it. Boy, he made that thing look good. And we already have a more interesting show. It just feels more interesting. Penelope Ford in a solo match against Angelica Risk, who's been here quite a few times and does a good job. Ford hits that back handspring elbow strike and does the mood a lot, gets the win. QT Marshall against Toa Leona. Um, QT gets a rare win with that diamond cutter. Boy, remember when he was given that diamond cutter by Diamond Dallas Page? That's paid off. Fourth match 2.0 versus Ish and Kid Bandit, both kids from the Nightmare Factory. 2.0 wins with 2 for the show. Kid Bandit, for somebody who is really new, really stands out, both in ring and just in terms of his look and personality and all that. Lance Archer against Jordan Costa, predictable. The EBD claw in this case. Sixth match, interesting. Marina Shafir against Rekka Tahaka. Marina hasn't really had a lot of matches, and Rekka Tahaka always there to make sure people look good. And Shafir makes Tahaka tap out to the standing leg capture triangle choke. Wow, wow. And they have a nice little back and forth match. Again, AEW Dark just has special matches, just little interesting tidbits. Next week on AEW Dark, they announced Fuego del Sol against Serpentico, which ought to be a nice back and forth. See, it's just something about Dark, man. Because both shows are what they are, right? There's shows where you're going to see a lot of jobber matches or foregone conclusion matches, but AEW Dark just has a flow to them, and occasionally we'll have matches between people who are either virtually unknown to AEW or at the similar level to each other, apparently, and it's nice. Factory, Aaron Solo and Nick Camarotto against Cameron Stewart and Dante Casanova, who have both been here before. Solo hits that flying double foot stomp, so this is a night for the Factory. This is a night for Americans, as Bill the Butcher once said. Eighth match, Tony Nese, always great to see, against Zach Clayton, who's been here quite a few times. The running Nese gets the win. Kiera Hogan, who they've been giving matches to, and this one will put Kiera Hogan in the positive as far as record goes, 5-4 now, against Maserati. Hogan connects with that roundhouse kick to pick up the victory. Great to see. The Dark Order, in this case, Alan Angels and Preston Vance, 5 and dime, against Arya Davari and Invictus Kosh. And the Dark Order win this one. And then they get into a brawl with the Factory. So again, we're setting up little angles on the show, and I love it. Dante Martin, Matt Sydal against Bear Country. Again, it feels like a very competitive match. Dante eventually hits that nosedive to get the victory. 12th match, Joey Janela with Kalo Rossi against Lee Moriarty. Another nice back and forth match until Lee Moriarty wins. So Dark beats Dark Elevation hands down. I don't think it was even close this week. Just a much better, a show that recognizes that it is what it is, and it's very good at doing it. NXT 2.0. I may be going myself this week, but just a really interesting kind of look for NXT 2.0. I'm not gonna lie to you and say, wow, great show. Because it wasn't. But it wasn't the worst show going. And that that has begun to mean something, as strange as that is. It's just really, I mean, if what they wanted was for me to acquiesce and go, hey, I guess they are what they are and you just have to accept it. Of course, that's true to a to a point. Yeah. What did they set up that I can look forward to seeing? Uh, Here we go. So we kick off with a tag match between Diamond Mine and Imperium. And then we're going to have some big matches tonight. In-ring return of Saray, so we can stop seeing her do the schoolgirl thing for at least a little while. And a match between Cora Jade and Raquel Gonzalez. The Creed brothers, Roderick Strong versus Imperium. Gunther, clothesline, massive power bomb, picks up the win. Okay. That felt like a match that could have been for a larger event. So I give them credit for starting off with it. Very AEW of them. Yeah. LA Knight calls out Grayson Waller. Joe Gacy and Harlan offered their help in dealing with the restraining order. Oh, legal stuff in wrestling. Always terrible. Toxic Attraction comes out, calls out Indy and Persia. The Kaylee Ray came out to ask for her title shot against Mandy Rose. Okay. The promo is Kaylee Ray going, I dominated an entire continent while you were still slipping on your ass at WrestleMania. Ooh, edgy. Kaylee Ray shoves Mandy down. Toxic Attraction comes after her, but she got a baseball bat and chases them off. Cora Jade's backstage. She says she's going to beat Raquel Gonzalez. I wouldn't bet the farm on it. Cora Jade against Raquel Gonzalez. Gonzalez wins. So after the match, she shakes Jade's hand before agreeing to team up for the Women's Dusty Cup. Pete Dunne challenges Tony D'Angelo to a steel cage match. And then Saray makes her return against Kayla Inlay, who always gets demolished. And yeah, this is no different. Saray wins and looks good winning. I'll say that. Braun Breaker talks to Ciampa. Carmelo Hayes and Cameron Grimes came out. Cameron Grimes interrupts his promo. They set up a match for Vengeance Day. Yeah. Again, a perfectly workmanlike show, and under the auspices of the new NXT, NXT 2.0, it's fine. It's just nothing sexy happening, right? LA Knight against Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy wins because Waller hits Knight with a stunner and sets up a lariat. Robert Stone says he paid Von Wagner's fines and that he's a future champion. Okay, there's fines. Wendy Chu against Amari Miller. We saw Tiffany Stratton try to bribe Miller before the match to teach Chu that lesson. But Chu gets the win. Persia Perota backstage talking about Duke Hudson. Brooks Jensen walks in and asks her and Indy for relationship advice. Get a promo from Nikita Lyons. And Saray is in a backstage interview doing a schoolgirl thing. Dakota Kai drops by to taunt her. We get Andre Chase against Draco Anthony. Again, just it is what it is. At the end of the day, Andre Chase defeats Draco Anthony with a flatliner, basically. Mandy Rose is in the catering area, and Kaylee Ray dumps a bowl of spaghetti on her head and hit her with a giant cake. Tommaso Ciampa and Braun Breaker against Legado del Fantasma. This is a match of note. I'm not going to say that it's quote worth going out of your way to watch, but they definitely did more here in this one. Braun Breaker hits his finisher and they win. Escobar taunts Breaker from ringside and then walks off. And then KLR and Mandy Rose end up in the ring. KLR beats her down and basically challenges her for the title. Eesh. We go to Wednesday. Dynamite, very good show. The must-see match is CM Punk and MJF in the main, which went 40 minutes in all. Death Triangle against the House of Black was also very good. Ruby Soho against Nyla Rose was also very good. Jon Moxley against Wheeler Yuta. Of course, Wheeler Yuta a substitution, but acquits himself nicely here. In fact, it's the best he's looked, even though it was in defeat to Moxley, who really overwhelmed him. But it looked very good. And then the promo from Danielson, where he makes the offer to Moxley of like, we should be leading these guys, was interesting. It was completely unexpected and fantastic. Really fantastic. Black and King do defeat Pac and Penta in a really, really good match. Isaiah Cassidy is going to get a TNT Championship match against Sammy Guevara, which makes no sense. Let's just be honest. Even under any kind of whatever wins that they try to give Isaiah Cassidy, it doesn't make sense. Rose defeats Soho. A really dominant victory for Rose. Hangman Page speaks. Um, Dan Lambert, he's there. Uh, Chris Jericho calls for an inner circle team meeting. The stuff between Page and Archer is rough only in that nobody has a reason to think that Lance Archer is going to win. If I was them, I would emphasize the fact that Lance Archer has pulled off surprises before, such as beating Jon Moxley for the IWGP US title, for example. And then CM Punk versus MJF, which is one that you just have to go watch. You just have to watch it. Impact Wrestling. Impact continues to be incredibly good. Digital Media Championship. We open strong. Jordan Grace, Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona wins in a match that's incredibly good, and it's the right move at the right time. Jonah versus Crazy Steve. In fact, I would dare say that that is another match you got to go out of your way to see, just to watch this crazy run of Matt Cardona and how good it is. Jonah against Crazy Steve. Jonah beats Crazy Steve. Okay. Matt Cardona. When he's caught up there and they go like, how would Chelsea Green feel? And he goes, why don't you ask Jonathan Gresham what it's like being married to a loser? Gotta go. Fantastic. Jonathan Gresham against Steve Macklin. Very good match. Macklin delivers his move, and he's gonna, because we had a disqualification here, right? Because Honor No More's Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, PCO, and Vincent attacks. Gresham watches from the ramp and refuses to join them, but nonetheless benefited. And I thought this was a good match. I thought it was better than the other one that they had, honestly. Vincent against Josh Alexander. Very good match. Alexander wins. But then Bennett, Taven, and PCO kind of tease that they're going to attack. But he gets the win with the tap out on the ankle lock. And then Kenny King attacks before standing tall with his Ring of Honor alumni. And now we got even sides going into No Surrender in a couple of weeks. Interesting. No Surrender is going to be on Impact. So it's not going to be one of these things where I got to go out of my way to get a hold of that pay-per-view. John Schuyler, who's been doing really great work for Impact, against Bhupinder Gujar. Gujar defeats Schuyler, and it was fine. Masha Slamovich against Lennox. Slamovich wins, asserting her dominance for sure. They're definitely giving her that push. 8-man tag team main event. The Bullet Club against Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, Jake Something, and Mike Bailey. That Mike Bailey sure knows how to stand out, does he not? And the Bullet Club eventually wins. After the match, the Good Brothers and Violent by Design attack the Bullet Club. So another very good Impact. Now, what that New Japan do? We just had a match. I think this was from 2018. It's the G1 Climax Final between Kota Ibushi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and it's really, really good. But again, until they start doing the new episodes in March, I can't really put them on a best of or a worst of, honestly. Really, really good, though, and I dare say worth checking out. So that's 3 matches now worth checking out. Now we go into Friday. Smackdown. Smackdown was fucking awful. Awful. Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman have a moment. Drew McIntyre's SmackDown return, and Ronda Rousey chooses to wrestle Charlotte Flair. Goldberg interrupting the bloodline was embarrassing. It's pretty awful. There wasn't a lot for Heyman to do to shore this thing up. What can you do? Ricochet versus Ridge Holland, which then turns into a tag match, and Holland and Sheamus defeat Ricochet and Cesaro. It's a lengthy rivalry, and it doesn't matter. Eric versus Jimmy Uso. Uso wins. And it just doesn't matter. Alia, who had a bit of a showing, as much as you could, in the Women's Royal Rumble against Natalya. And Alia defeats Natalya by countout. And Alia can beat Natalya, but only by fluky means. God damn, it's terrible. Drew McIntyre comes and beats up Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, who attempted to sneak attack him. And then threatens to make their life a living hell by feuding with them. He's really only cutting his own throat here, right? Shinsuke Nakamura against Jinder Mahal. Nakamura defeats him in a not so good match. And then Nakamura and Zayn stare down each other. New Day against Los Lotharios, as there's Kofi and Big E teaming together. The crowd enjoyed it, such as it was. And New Day beats Los Lothario. And Ronda Rousey selects her opponent. I'll see you at WrestleMania, bitch. What a fucking terrible show. Rampage was pretty good, though of slightly less consequence. And it was interesting when they announced that Hook is going to have an opponent next week. I immediately perked up and I'm like, I bet they draw off of that somewhat. Adam Cole against Evil Uno. Adam Cole wins, and it was fine. But it's really the promo afterwards where basically he declares that he's going to go after the world championship. That was interesting. Sammy Guevara against Isaiah Cassidy. Sammy Guevara wins. Mercedes Martinez against Thunder Rosa. This was very good and had a very rare DQ finish. And then a great little segment where it turns out that Britt Baker kind of put Mercedes Martinez up to it, but feels like Mercedes Martinez didn't live up to her end of the bargain by winning that match. Interesting interplay there. Because we also got to see Jamie Hayter be upset that she wasn't used as the heavy, and so her and Martinez had a confrontation. Again, a little bit of layering, a little bit of complexity. Ricky Starks against Jay Lethal. Fantastic match for that FTW title, and that they're going to be talking about that. The counter alone for the win is worth going out of your way to watch. This one's pretty easy. Your best show of the week is Dynamite, and your worst is Smackdown by miles. In any case, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling.